Hello and a warm welcome, thanks for joining. Today we're going to be taking a look at chalk paint for beginners and a price to budget comparison. We're going to be looking at premium brand, we're using Dixie Bell for this example, a medium brand, we're using Rust-Oleum, and then a store owned brand, Wilco. And we're going to be taking a look at what the difference is between those quality in paints. Not to throw away any of the Venetian blinds, we're going to be creating this table, and this was the inspiration for the table. I was sat in a cafe the other day. Those palette walls are very interesting. So going in, take a look at Dixie Bell first. I'm following the manufacturer's guidelines, which is stir it, wet paintbrush, and then use the paint straight on the brush. I wouldn't normally use the paint out of the container, but for this occasion I'm using such a little amount of paint, it seemed worthless washing up more stuff. So it's going on very nicely. Clearly it's going to need a few more coats. I am using synthetic brushes, and the reason for this is although these synthetic brushes are very cheap, I've got 3 of them in the same size, so we can do a real fair comparison between each of the chalk paints. As you can see, we're going to be looking at how this levels out and how it dries more importantly. Here's a close-up of Dixie Bell so as you can take a real good look at how it's dried. It's gone off immediately. I am working outside and mostly people prefer to work indoors when doing furniture restoration. Okay, next up we're moving on to Rust-Oleum, and this is a very thick paint. It does not recommend that you water down the paintbrush, and it is starting to set already. It's got really good coverage. I mean, it has to be said, it is great coverage. I don't know if you can notice, I'm in real trouble there. So it's dragging back the paint that's partly dried and making it sort of cloggy. It was really difficult to work with at this point. And so I did spray some water onto the brush just so as it would water down every little bit of paint. I'm not too worried about those finger marks, and I'm trying to go quite quickly and appreciate that as a new beginner to furniture painting, you're going to feel that you're not going to be as good with your brush strokes as an experienced furniture painter. Here's a close-up again, so as you can see, I mean you can still see the brush strokes, we're going to need a second coat, but it is really quite thick as it goes on. So you've still got the lines running through it. Next up we have Wilco. This is our budget range. Still chalk paint. Give it a good stir, just like the manufacturers recommend. A little bit runnier than Rust-Oleum when you give it a stir. No wet paintbrush again on this one, straight in. I'm just moving a bit of dust that's got onto the Venetian blinds outside. And straight in. Goes on quite nicely, this paint. And it doesn't dry immediately like the Rust-Oleum does, which means it's gives you those cloggy elements where you have to wet down your brush and try and blend them back in. This stays wetter for longer. Just gives us that little bit more workable time. Nice and close again, so as you can see, fair comparison. Okay, so straight away we're starting the second coat, back on the Dixie Bell at the moment, and you can see just here where you've got a first coat comparison to a second coat, how beautiful that second coat goes in, levels out and starts filling in all the spaces where the first coat's missed. I've got to say, I do really like Dixie Bell. It gives you a very professional finish with easy use. Now onto the Rust-Oleum. I made a mistake here, and this is where the video ran out. So the back half of those Venetian blinds has already had a second coat. This bit I have a terrible paintbrush because it's dried out in the sunshine. So now I have to keep watering my paintbrush, but the one thing I do know about Rust-Oleum is you can water things down and it will just blend the old paint back in. It's very good like that. Again, really thick coat. And onto Wilco. Second coat, very thick. Moves very nicely. For a budget brand paint, it moves really well. Okay, here's a clear comparison between the three. Now, Dixie Bell in the green very much needs a third coat. The Rust-Oleum could do with a very thin third coat in my opinion, but the Wilco blue doesn't need a third coat. You can see some of the brush marks in the Rust-Oleum in particular. You can also see a fraction of brush marks in the Wilco. You don't get that with Dixie Bell. Okay, so I'm going to chop these down. If you do use a chop saw and you're cutting through Venetian blinds, one thing I've very much learned is keep your blade down until it stops turning, because they have a tendency to spark out and hit everybody. So I've just got my pieces cut to length, all different size lengths as well, and this is the tabletop. It's an old pub tabletop. I wouldn't like to know what's been stuck to that surface, so it's having a good sand. We're going to use the cladding inspiration from the cafe that I was sat in, where they did a pallet wall, and we're going to create a pallet wall with Venetian blinds. I'm using all different sizes and lengths of Venetian blinds and just testing out a dry pattern to see how easy it is to work with and what I'm going to create. Now this is where I'm trying to fit in larger pieces of Venetian blinds with smaller pieces of Venetian blinds and see how I can run that pattern. And not particularly well is the answer to that. And then I try a swerve ball, and that didn't work either. So we're getting rid of all the thick Venetian blinds, only using the thin ones and creating a pallet wall. If you'd like to find out how to put this table together, how to glue it, how to clamp it, what techniques, what painting techniques we've done on top, sanding times, all those details will be included in the video. Click the link above. Thanks for watching. This is how the end result turned out. I don't like the base, and I'm going to have to create 4 new legs for that table, but I love, love, love the tabletop. Just the tones and the colours, they just really work. It looks like it belongs in some little rustic cafe, or certainly with white wall. Thanks for watching, hope you've enjoyed.